Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for the second episode of the Promised Neverland or Yakusoku no Neverland's anime. So I'll briefly say this at the beginning so that you're forewarned. Like I said in the beginning of the first one, I have read the manga, but I'm not going to talk about manga stuff here. I'm going to review it kind of as if I haven't seen the manga as best I can. But if anything is even like mildly somewhat spoilery, I'm not going to get into it or mention it in that light. Because I really want to be super careful that I'm not spoiling anyone on anything for this series, because I love it and I want you all to be able to experience it to the fullest. But I also want to talk about it in detail and how great I thought it was. So I really liked it once again. I think maybe it wasn't like super duper amazing or anything, but it kind of dispelled a lot of my fears. Going into this, I feel like my biggest fear for the series as a person who's read the manga is like the end of chapter 37, and again, I'm not spoiling anything at all. The end of chapter 37 is the perfect place to end the anime for a 12 episode season. It makes total sense that that's where the season would end. They could end it sooner than that, but I don't think they will. That's just the part that makes sense. So I was wondering, how are we going to pace this? What's the pacing going to be like? Are they going to have to rush things? Are they going to even be able to do it to fit that much into 12 episodes? But this covered basically 4 chapters worth of stuff, so I definitely think, okay, well, they can easily do it then. So yeah, I was worried about the pacing, but the pacing in this was good. Maybe they went a little bit quickly, but I don't think it was that bad. Hell, I even saw people who didn't read the manga. I saw at least 1 or 2 comments or discussions so far where they were saying, it felt kind of slow, so surprising to me. People thought it was slow. So yeah, I thought it was a little bit fast, but if other people didn't think that, then yeah, the pacing was good. So we start off with the date again. I guess the episodes are going to be named after the dates they take place on at the beginning of it. Or maybe we're just going to have those sequences every time a day changes so we know what date it is. And again, I love the heavily important time themes here. Because they're on a time schedule, they need to escape within 2 months. But they decide, okay, we have to act. We have to pretend like we did not see anything at that gate. So that's kind of where we're starting off after seeing Emma's dream or whatever, and I thought they handled that well. So it's cool the way that this makes them a little bit like Isabella in a way, how they're acting within this situation and trying to just keep up the whole smiley happy family thing so they don't get caught. So we have Norman and Emma talk this out quite a bit, and they kind of go through how everyone who's left was between 6 and 12, and they realize it's the brains, the size and development of the brain. I think the manga went into a little bit more detail by just throwing out the factoid, and they're not going to throw it out here, that it's believed that by the time you're at age 6, your brain's developed to its full size or whatever, and by the time you're age 12 it has stopped developing. I believe that was the fact they threw in when they were talking about, that's why it's got to be between 6 and 12, and they realized that they're shipped out based on the number of their scores, where once you turn 6, the lowest score is shipped out every 2 months until you get to somebody turning 12, then you're going to be shipped out before you're 12 no matter what your scores are. So the only reason that Emma, Norman, and Ray have made it this long is because their scores were the best. And what that also tells us, kind of by default, is that the older a kid is, generally the smarter they're going to be, because they have survived this long by having scores high enough to survive this long. So I do think that's very interesting, and we know that from what they said, I think they said over half of the kids there are under 6 currently. So again, it's kind of good to know the layout of how all the kids are, since Emma wants them all to escape together. But they realize, okay, based on when the past shipments were, the next one will be in about 2 months. So they go outside to do more planning. We have the drawing of the map so that we see where the gate, the house, and the forest are. Emma says that she's refusing to sacrifice anyone. They all have to go together, again reinforcing that narrative. Norman and Emma go beyond the fence to see what's there, and they find the wall. Like they mentioned, there's no seams or cracks in it. It's just a straight, solid, smooth wall all the way around, like 2 or 3 meters thick. But Emma says that she can climb over it if she has a rope. So then we have the scene, which is really, really great, where Isabella shows off her tracker, basically saying, I don't know which kids were the ones that brought little Bernie to the gate, but whoever you were, now if you've noticed me looking at this tracker and going to get this kid, you realize there's nothing you can do, kind of discouraging them from trying to pull anything. I like that, again, throughout this episode we have these hints with Ray where he's watching on and observing what's going on, which is really, really good. Then we have the talk, and again, this is what makes me think, okay, so there were some scenes in the manga that were left out that I'm not going to mention because I think we could see them next episode. I feel like we're kind of going out of order with some certain things that don't really matter that much, which is fine if all the things that weren't in this episode are next episode. I don't think they're skipping over them or anything, because next up we have where Norman mentions that he searched the house and made sure there weren't any bugs or anything like that. And they talk about, okay, so that's how we know the security isn't on the house, but on us ourselves. And I think the revelation that he had looked around the house and didn't find any bugs or anything, I think that may have come a little bit earlier in the manga, but I don't 100% recall, because I do think it was brought up again here for a second time. So I don't think they're going completely in order. They're moving things around a little bit, so that's why I don't think any of the things they left out, I don't think they're going to stay left out. I think they'll be next episode. But yeah, that's probably my biggest worry, is them skipping things, because the things they skipped, they really should not skip. I really do hope they're next episode. But then we have them figuring out, again, from the actions that Isabella is taking, that she has trackers on them somehow or another, but it doesn't seem like she can tell which one of them is which from the trackers. So she knows probably that 2 of them were out there, but she doesn't know which 2. She still has to figure that out. So that means they're still somewhat safe for now. Then we have the scene where Isabella's just hovering over Emma, being really creepy. I was expecting this to actually be a lot creepier. But yeah, it was still good. It was a really cool scene. One thing I like a lot with this episode that I feel like we got to see more this episode than last episode was the character's body language, really. We saw it a bit last time, but I think the small sort of micro expressions in their faces and the movements with their hands and their posture were really, really good this episode in a way that we didn't see as much last episode. Of course, I've seen shows do it better, but the fact that they worried to do it at all is great, because there's a lot of shows where they're very straightforward, I guess. The emotions portrayed are just the emotions portrayed. Things are incredibly straightforward, and a lot of the camera angles and shots they use as related to that are very straightforward. So I like that with this, they're able to add a little bit more into that and actually pay attention to these things. So I think that's good. Then Isabella asks them directly, hey, were you 2 the ones out at the gate? And of course they deny it. Before that, Emma, showing how badass she is, was able to just act her way through it, even to the point of straight to Isabella's face being like, yeah, wonder what Connie's doing. She wanted to be a mom like you. And Emma is just so great, such a good character. They go get tablecloths rather than rope, because it was something that it was easy for them to get and they can use as a rope. And they're able to store that in a tree out in the woods. They plan to tell Ray. Norman originally says, I'll go tell him. You don't worry about it, Emma. Implying later on that we learned that he was going to say, yeah, you're probably right. We can't escape with all of them. I know how it sounds. So that was originally why he was going to do it himself, but Ray was following all along. And we kind of, again, had hints throughout the past episodes of that, where whenever they're doing something sketchy, Ray is kind of paying attention to them. Another thing that's interesting to note here is that we cut away to Isabella looking at the tree where Ray's basically always sitting when we have these outdoor scenes, and noticing that Ray isn't in his normal spot, which I think was really cool, that we cut away specifically for that. Ray and Emma both disagree on whether they can escape with everyone or not. I thought the scene was really, really good. A lot of really good comedic stuff there. Norman then gets to talk with Ray, and again, he has a very good speech. The music they used with it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, and I heard other people saying the same thing, so I'm glad it's not just me, but I didn't think it was bad personally. The best thing I liked about Norman's speech, though, is when he said, "So me and Emma were freaked out when we first found out. We were crying and everything," but he makes the distinction. I was crying because I was afraid. Emma was crying because she didn't want to lose any of her family members. Showing the difference between them, he was afraid. He was like, "Oh my God, we're on a farm, I'm gonna die." But Emma rather was mourning the fact that they're on a farm and that she's losing family members. She's lost family members. So Norman brings up how Emma's special. She's different. And he's going to do what he can to help her escape with everyone. He's going to find a way to do it because he likes her. He throws out his confession to Ray, and all that was great. And then I was shocked. I was freaking out watching this because I wasn't expecting Krone until episode 3. We got to see Krone. I was freaking out. I was so hyped. I won't say why at all, but know that Krone is one of my favorite characters probably in the series. So I was so hyped to see Krone. Also, Carol was there, who is their new sibling. So now the number of the kids there is back to 38. Plus now, rather than one adult, they have 2. Isabella, again, making her own chess moves, bringing in this second piece to make it, presumably, twice as difficult for the kids, now having to deal with 2 adults with their eyes on them. So yeah, I was so hyped because I wasn't expecting to see Krone quite yet. So yeah, some thoughts as a whole. I think either they're doing things out of order, or they left 2 or 3 kind of important things out, and I'm hoping it's the former. I'm hoping they're just doing things a little bit out of order, because they can totally do that and then show what they didn't show this episode, next episode, and I think it all works out fine. Just, that's my biggest concern as a viewer, because I do find the things they left out to be a bit important, and to be some kind of big moments. But generally, I thought the episode was amazing. I thought it was totally enthralling. I was really sucked in to every episode, or, well, every scene and every moment that was going on. So yeah, I just love the series. And I think the anime is doing a great job with it. It's well animated, a lot of the direction's very good. And yeah, the only part I'm concerned about was the pacing. I think it's too early to say it isn't good, so for right now, I think it's fine. So yeah, I'd give it 9.5 new siblings out of 10. I really enjoyed it. And I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked the episode too, but I hope you liked the video. Like if you did like the video. And comment down there to tell me what you thought of this episode yourself and what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more. The Promised Neverland, much more on the channel. If you are a manga reader as well, I try to keep my thumbnails and my titles spoiler free or anything. But I will be doing a Promised Neverland manga read-through video coming up today after this. So there's going to be a second video for this series today, because I usually do those on Wednesdays, but I'm a day behind. So yeah, sub for anything, tons of anime, manga, and stuff on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or talk to you there if you want. And if you want to link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord about anything, then just ask and I can give you a link. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.